That's all.
Caleb, when you look at the attack more than just Cucho coming in and Derek playing well, is it kind of the pace of play they're playing at? Like, can you identify specific things that have made it improve more than just Cucho coming into the team?
Yeah, I think it's just the balance of the attack, you know, where you have a 10 who has a great vision and final passing, and you've got Luis Diaz and Derek who move behind the line and stretch, so those final passes, those options are on. And you have Cucho, who is always in good spots in the box to finish. Sometimes it's, you know, leading the line for a cross, sometimes it's pulling off the line for a cutback, which then now allows Lucas to get at times in the box, in around the back four a bit more, where he's so dangerous. So I think it's the balance of the front four, and of course just our ability to get in those positions as well. But you know, I think when you have enough pace, enough creativity, you know, when you put the pieces together in a way where you get all those dimensions that you need to create in the attack, because you always need width, you need length, we need to create central, we need to create wide. So, you know, if you don't have it all put together, sometimes you create wide but not central. Sometimes you create central but not wide. And sometimes you create through crosses, you know, sometimes you create through combination play. And I think with this group, we can create in a lot of different ways. So there's a lot of variety in the attack.
And on his first shot against Cincy, I remember him kind of combining on the left and just moving really all over the place atop the box. How much does that kind of free up other people to, not just Lucas, to be creative?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons we really liked him, is he wasn't just a base number 9 that you kind of always know where he's at, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. There are strikers that are like that, and you pretty much know they're always going to score off crosses and always going to be in a certain spot. And there are certain strikers that you never know where they're going to be at, and they're going to take up different positions, whether that's in front of the back four, behind the back four, in between the center backs, on the outside shoulders of the center backs, or even pulling wide at times. And I think that's what makes Cucho so dangerous, and the combination of him and Lucas, because Lucas is a really smart player. And you know, you could see in the build-up, Lucas could excuse me, that'll tickle. You could see Lucas take up positions to create overloads wide and deep, which then now unbalances the opponent, and you create through imbalancing the opponent with overloads. You know, so Lucas's ability to overload, attract, switch, play, which opens up now space on the switch, opens up space between the lines depending on the positioning of Cucho and Lucas. And you know, still a long way to go in terms of the chemistry of the front four, but I thought on the day they really made progress, and I told them today that we have to keep improving, you know, and we're in a good run, but you know, we have to keep improving. And you know, there was a lot to look at where we could have improved and done better and scored more goals.
Switching topics a bit, when it came to the decision to trade Miguel, did it just come down to simply he was probably looking for some playing time, and you had Jason and Eric kind of go ahead of him here, and he maybe expressed to you guys that he wanted a place where he would see some time?
Yeah, I think anytime these situations are what they are, you know, he knew where things were at, we knew where things were at, and I think it made sense for him and us. He's happy because he has an opportunity now to be what's going on here? Can be closer to playing on a regular basis. Like you said, we have Cucho, we have Eric, who's done really well recently. Thought he did really well off the bench as well in the last game. Almost scored a couple times. And then you have Jason Russell Rowe, who's done really well, who's a really young player. So it made sense. It was a win-win for both parties, and had a nice chat with Miguel and wished him all the best, and he wished us all the best. So I think you know, it was where it was at, and I think it was a good move for both parties.
Yeah.
We can take a second if you wish.
Sorry, must be allergies or something.
Back to Cucho for a minute. Have you been surprised? I mean, I know you were excited about him and what he could do, but just how quickly he's not just scored, but just kind of everything he's brought, energy. Have you been surprised at all that it's clicked as quickly as it has for him and for the guys around him, as you were talking about?
Yes and no. I mean, you never completely know how long it's going to take a guy to settle and transition. It is mid-season. He's coming off an off-season. It's a new league for him. He has new teammates, new coaches, everything. But when you're a really good player and you have quality, you kind of know that he's going to transition really well. And when you scout the profile in the right way and you know his personality and you know how he plays, then you kind of have a pretty good picture of how he's going to fit in. I think what's maybe surprising how quickly he's fit in is just the physical standpoint. He did more each game last week than we thought he'd be able to do in essentially his second week of training. And then obviously it always helps when you just get off to a good start, scoring in your first game and his first minutes. So, it's not surprising he's scoring goals. It's not surprising anything he's doing in terms of his play. We knew all those qualities that he had. It's just sometimes you don't always know how quickly that transition is gonna, kind of happen. But also when we looked at his moves and all the moves he's made, we knew he had been a guy that had been in a lot of different places. So that always helps. So that was also a part of why we felt he'd fit in pretty quickly.
Obviously, you talked about how he's continuing to learn and the team's continuing to learn, but opponents are going to continue to learn him, more film and whatnot. How do you kind of adjust when a guy gets off to such a good start and then teams will start defending him differently, I imagine, in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at the goals he's scored, they're all different types of goals. So I think that's a good thing. It's not the same type of goal, right? There's strikers in this league where you know how they score, and there's strikers in this league that you know can score in many different ways. So I think that makes him harder to game plan for. Plus, when you have really good players around him, if they start taking away him in different ways, then we've got Lucas that can now pop up. We've got Derek. We've got Darlington. We've got other quality players. Luis Diaz, who threatens in different ways. So. That's really the way that you want to put your attack together, and I think that the vision right now is kind of what we had in mind.
Defensively, obviously, the last two games, you guys gave up 2 goals, but come back with a shutout Sunday night. What did you like defensively from the team as a whole that was maybe a little bit better than those previous 2 games? Yeah,
I think we got fortunate early in the game. With that ball in behind our back 4 that then was slid to Barriel, who really made an unbelievable save on. So sometimes you get fortunate, but for me, that was the only real chance they had. Vasquez on the back post for a nod back. First half was another half kind of chance, but I thought we played really well defensively as a team. I always say it, it's, yes, the last line is Aloy and then the back 4 and on up through our team. Those guys have to, make plays. They have to make plays in the box. They have to be good on set pieces. But I just think the better we play in the front part of our team defensively and the better that our shape is and our team defending, then the less emergency box situations our defenders and our goalkeeper, that they're in. So I think we weren't in many of those situations. I was very pleased with the set piece defending overall. It's always important, those can be nervy moments. We're up 1-0. We're knocking on the door for the second, third goal. It doesn't come, and we're in set piece situations, and we clear our lines well. We look comfy, and I told the group we looked very strong at 1-0, not nervy and weak. We looked strong mentally and physically at 1-0, and I think because we were strong, we didn't concede, and we scored the second goal.
There's a lot of talk about the relationship between Cucho and Lucas, but I've been recognizing the relationship between Cucho and Luis Diaz. What have you seen with that, and how has that developed even within these first couple of weeks and allowed Luis Diaz to shine with what seems to be his best week in a long time?
Yeah, he's got world-class pace. Everybody knows that, and I think everybody fears that. You know, when you play him, you're always going to have to be aware of his pace because there's no one that's going to beat him in a foot race. I mean, there are a couple guys on New England. Interestingly enough, their outside backs are probably two of the most athletic outside backs. You know, so that won't be as easy of a matchup. But I think with Luis Diaz, you know, his ability to stretch and threaten behind the line, you know, any creative player and any player that understands how goals are scored and created, they know you need penetration, and he provides that penetration. And Lucas and Cucho, you know, when they pull off the line now, they have someone that they can spring in behind the back four to then now create the chance. So I think that's why it doesn't hurt that there's a language connection. That doesn't hurt, you know, but I think those guys like playing with him because they know they can play him in behind the back four, back five to create chances.
Thank you, Caleb.
Good.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Caleb. Appreciate